All right, episode 31. We're still standing in place. Episode 31. Actually, I think last week was 31, which would make this week 32, I think. Like, definitely 32 comes after 31. I'm just not 100% sure that last week was 31. What is it, November 17th, Tuesday night. Eric, Marc, nice to see you again. Standing in place, and I'm noticing that toilet paper has become very popular again. There's a lot of people buying a lot of toilet paper. So much toilet paper that the stores have to limit the amount of toilet paper that one can purchase at a time, which is usually not a good sign. So we won't talk about all the stuff that got us there, but let's talk about the toilet paper. So we do know that the reason that people are hoarding toilet paper is because it's something tangible. It's something very obviously visible when you have a lot of it. And that gives people comfort, right? You like being in control of things. You like knowing that you're going to be taken care of. Having a freezer full of food, or 3 pallets of ramen noodles, something that you can look at and go, I got that. I got lots of it. Look how much. Makes you feel better. And toilet paper is tremendous for that because it's cheap and it takes up a whole lot of space. So if you have a basement or garage full of toilet paper, you're feeling like you got things taken care of. So great. If you have indoor plumbing and a shower, you've also got things taken care of. So yeah, people collecting toilet paper are fine. Do what you want. I got a couple rules. But I was curious then, how long have we even been wiping our ass? Because I don't think this has been going on for like the life of humans, right? How many animals wipe their ass? No animals wipe their ass. They wipe their ass with their tongue. And if we were flexible enough, I guess we could learn to do the same thing. We're just not designed in the right way to get our tongue up our own ass, at least most of us. So we can't get away with that. So we got to do something. We got to do something, or we just let everything just hang and dry out and get uncomfortable. So humans have been wiping their ass with things for a long time. A long time. And the list of items that have been found to have been used either through like notes in literature, people's journals, or from finding materials, and there's archaeologists testing materials for rectal residue, for poo, which has got to be an incredible thought process. If you're an architect, you're an archaeologist. Indiana Jones, you're an archaeologist. You're an archaeologist, and you're excavating this ancient site, and you find these pebble-shaped pieces of ceramic, and you realize these things were manufactured on purpose. Your thought process somehow got to, let's taste these for feces, or potentially test them. It's probably better. Test them for feces. That's still crazy. You're finding ancient stuff that they're not old, I don't know how old the humans were, but ancient humans made, and your thought process somehow lands at, let's test it for feces. Hey, look at this weird looking rock. I wonder if somebody was wiping their ass with it. That's where we're getting. That's a very interesting thought path. Very interesting. But it has to be done, right? Because we're curious. We're curious what went on. And that's a real thing. There was these ceramic rocks that used to be made, I think that was in the Roman times, that they used to wipe their ass, which is incredible because they had another tool, and the other tool was a sea sponge on the end of a stick, like a wand, like think toilet brush. It was shaped like a toilet brush, but they were not brushing the toilet with it. They were cleaning their ass with it. A living creature that came out of the ocean, they killed it, and they wrapped it around a stick, and then they used it to drag through their ass crack to clean themselves. Which, I guess that's pretty nice. Like, it's probably a pretty sweet clean. I've never tried using a toilet brush on myself. I'd imagine they're not using it internally. But, I mean, yeah, if it had the right, like, circumference, the right radius on those bristles that you could get between the cheeks, it probably does a pretty nice job. And you could just, like, splotch it in some water, plutch, and then just and clean yourself out. And then apparently they shared it. So, like, when you were done, you'd pass it to your neighboring shitter, and they would then mop their ass with this same sea sponge on a stick. Incredible. But you did what you had to. Times are different, right? As far as man-made tools, apparently it was like these things were found in China that were like 2,000 years old, and it was a bamboo spatula with a piece of cloth wrapped around it, which once again the archaeologists thinking about shitting tested the spatula with the cloth, and this was not a paddle to spank a young child. This was another ass wiping tool. So for some reason the original tools that people made to wipe their ass were like sticks with stuff on the end. I don't know what that's about. You're like an arm with a hand doesn't already have the ability to reach. We can't reach with our mouth. We can't lick ourselves clean. But we can reach. And I know in some cultures today, there's places where they'll have like running water going underneath the stall, and you put one hand in the water and you clean yourself up and you clean your hand in the water. And then actually, if you have a way to wash your hand, that's not that crazy. Better than a sponge on a stick that you're passing to your neighbor after you're done. That's worse. I'd rather have a wet, shitty hand that only has my own fecal material on it than take a stick with a dead animal on the end that someone else just used and then put it between my cheeks. That's worse. That's definitely worse. The list of things, I wrote it down. I have notes that people use. So this is outside of the tools. The sticks with things on the end. Just a list, and depending on where you were in the world and what culture you were in. People use water. People use snow. Okay, those two both still get used and seem fairly reasonable. Rocks. I know that still happens. I know of people that have claimed to wipe themselves with a rock. I have not and wouldn't want to. Seashells. That's terrifying. You ever get cut by a seashell? I used to run around a beach. You step on a broken shell. You open yourself up. Seashells aren't what I would choose to clean myself back there. That's risky. The ceramic pebbles, they were actually called pessoi, P-E-S-S-O-I. So sorry I forgot that. In the West, so in the United States in the West, they used wood shavings. How does that work? How does that work? Wood shavings, the only way I could see that working is if you had a pile of wood shavings and then you just like spread your cheeks and sat down on it and let it all like kind of pack up in there so that you could remove them with the fecal material on them. You can't take a handful of wood chips and drag it through there. You're going to lose a couple. A couple are going to get like sucked up in the sarlacc pit and they're going to be gone, and then you're going to get splinters inside your anus. That sounds terrible. Or what if you get like one that's like jackknifed in there and then you poo and it does like Play-Doh Fun Factory and you get like two different logs going in different directions. This is disgusting. Don't use wood shavings to wipe yourself. Please. Please. Hay. That's terrifying too. Hay will splinter you. If you have it turned the wrong way, you're going to surprise yourself. Maybe don't use hay. Also rocks. Here's a popular one in the West. Our cowboys, wow, we're proud to be Americans, were wiping their ass with corn cobs. Corn cobs were a preferred method to clean yourself. I get it. The geometry makes sense. The geometry actually makes a lot of sense. The surface actually makes a lot of sense, especially after you eat a corn cob. You've got all those like open little pockets. They can capture the poo as you drag it through there. So that's, I get it. But they were also making corn cob pipes. And what if the pipe maker got the used corn cobs? We didn't have a lot of stuff, so they probably had to be pretty. They didn't want to. You don't want to waste, right? So if you use the corn cob to wipe yourself, I don't think it's unlikely that some of those corn cobs ended up being pipes, shitty pipes. People were smoking toilet paper corn cob pipes. I'm sure that's what happened. That's terrible. Plus the idea of was it a dry corn cob, or did you still have it like with a little bit of moisture on it? Because that's probably not too bad. Anchor cables. I don't know that I quite understand what that is. I looked up like just a list and I did not pursue the anchor cables, but I'm picturing like a big thick rope and somebody's dragging that through their crack. That's insane also. Now, there was another thing that I learned that sailors did to wipe themselves, which is both insane and completely practical. They had a method where they would have a rag tied on the end of a rope, and it would be in the water. It was called a tow rag. And so you just imagine this rag on this water on a rope, and the ship is moving through the ocean, just cruising along, or maybe on a river, and there's this rag just in the water behind. And then when you have to go, you go, I'm assuming, off the side of the boat, and then you like reel in this rag and use this wet rag to clean yourself. It's like, all right, wet rag to clean yourself. That's very reasonable. But it's one rag. I don't think people had their own tow rags. So everybody's sharing, once again, their anal cleansing tool. Anus cleansing, rectal cleansing. They're cleaning their ass with the same rag. And then you'd like let it out in the water again. And that's how it'd get clean, right? It's just like a shitty manta ray floating behind the ship. And just like little particles going off of it. Man, we've been amazing at polluting our environment. I guess it's fairly reasonable because animals are shitting all over the place too. But you're like chumming the water with your feces. It's fecal chum. I'd imagine at times something would attack that rag, right? That's how people, what's it called, trolling, right? Where you put something in the water and you move forward and then something bites it, and that's how you get a fish. And I can only imagine people wiping their ass, and maybe they had some corn. Maybe there's some substance that made it through a hole and was stuck to that rag, and then they put it in the water, and that's food again, right? It didn't get processed. And so now some fish is going to attack your tow rag, your shitty tow rag. Don't eat that fish. Don't eat that fish. The things you eat, the way that they taste varies depending on what their diet is, right? That's why like some animals with like corn-fed beef and things like that, right? You don't want the fish that's eating tow rags. That'd be the worst fish. Oh, man. Okay, so tow rags. I had a little extra information here. Sorry, because I can't completely remember these dates. So China, in the 1300s, so for a period of time, so like 500s on, I think it was around the 500s, in China, they came up with paper. But the paper was used to like write stuff on. And that paper would then get translated into toilet paper, right? So if you had some pages from a book that was terrible or something, that's better than this like ceramic rock or corn cob. So they were using paper that had print on it. And then it was around the 1300s that they started making paper especially to wipe yourself. There's actually perfumed paper. This is very nice. So now we're going from that area being terrible to that area actually being perfumed and quite pleasant, I imagine. In China, that was 1300s. In the US, we didn't have purpose-made toilet paper until about 1860. About 1860, over 500 years after China figured out, let's make some paper specifically for that. We won't write stuff on it. We won't poison our anuses with ink that's probably made from poisonous chemicals. 500 years for us to figure out that we should use its own paper. We should have a paper specifically for that. China was wiping their ass with perfumed toilet paper for a length of time equivalent to 2 U.S. histories, to this country existing as its own twice. China wiped their ass that whole period of time before we figured it out. Okay, that's a little perspective, huh? And then once we figured out how to wipe our asses, about 20 years later, 20, 30 years later, we started using electricity. We got electricity and lights in Manhattan. It took a while, get into like the early 1900s to get to the rest of the country. But we started wiping our asses, electricity. Wow, what a difference. China was wiping their ass for 2 U.S. histories before we figured that out. I suspect they're ahead in some ways. Maybe. Maybe. That was pretty much what I wanted to share with you all. Everything going on right now, it's craziness. Colorado, I think Friday we're going to like red alert, stay at home. I got people around me getting COVID. Yeah, be careful, good decisions, find ways to make ends meet, and let's get through this stupid thing. Respect each other, love each other, and we'll see you in a week. Take care. Bye.